This is the Honda Rebel 1100 and we've been wanting to get our hands on this bike for a long time now, and finally we have. This is the DCT model, so with the double clutch transmission, and I've just ridden the Honda Rebel 500, so it'll be interesting to compare the two while it's still fresh in my mind, and also compare it to my own bike, the Harley-Davidson Softail Street Bob, or Standard, which I like to call the Street Bob. So yeah, let's get into it.
Now, the Rebel 1100 is really nice to ride. I must say it's very good. It's very fast, and if you want to, you can get some serious speed on this, and it handles nicely, it takes the corners nicely. So as far as cruisers go, it will out-handle a lot of the heavier type of cruisers on the market. The handlebars, you've got the controls on this for the DCT. There's different buttons and things, and you have to scroll through loads of different things on the screen. And when you're changing the modes, you press the mode button, but then you've got to go to the select button above it to scroll through. So it's quite fiddly. I'm not a mad keen on that sort of thing, so it would be nice if, as far as I'm concerned, if it just had a mode button and you just press it once, press it again, and it changes, and that's it. I don't think it's necessary to have user settings when you set up your own torque and your various bits and pieces. It's too much, you don't need it. Keep it simple, but a lot of people like that, so it'll appeal to you if you're a gadget kind of person.
The engine in the 1100 is the same engine that you get in the Honda Africa Twin, and it's a lovely engine, very smooth. It's got plenty of torque low down. It's 98 newton meters of torque, which comes in at 4,750 RPM, which is not as much as a Harley produces. So comparing that to the Milwaukee 8, which is about 145 newton meters of torque, which is at 3,250 RPM. So low down, this hasn't got as much torque as a Harley-Davidson does. It does like to be revved a bit more, so it is a slightly sportier engine, and it produces 85 horsepower at 7,000 RPM. So yeah, this engine is pretty good, and it does feel probably faster than the Harley-Davidson. That may also be down to the double clutch transmission, which makes the gear changes lightning fast. So, you know, compared to doing it manually, you are saving a few seconds on your 0 to 60 time there for sure.
Now, storage, you wouldn't think it, but there's storage under the seat here. You've got a little seat on the back, we'll demonstrate that in a minute. I'm sure you can buy accessory racks for this if you want to strap stuff to it. But if you press the key in and turn it, the seat pops up, and underneath you have your manual, you have a tool. That's quite useful to have, so you could put a few things in there for your journey, and that's great.
The Rebel 1100 costs £9,099 in the UK, and you can get it in two colours. We've got it in the brown colour here, but you can also get it in black. I didn't think I'd like this brown, but it looks really nice. It's got a kind of metallic pearlescent flake to it, especially when the sun's on it, which looks really nice. And it's a lot of bike for the money, I'll tell you that. It's definitely a step up from the 500 model, no doubt about it.
when you're riding, it does feel like a proper cruiser. I like the fact that your arms are stretched out, your feet are in the right position, the knee bend is nice, it's not back here. I can't bear bikes where your legs are back there. So they've got it all right on that. The pegs stick out a long way, so when you're shunting it about backwards, you can hit your shins on the pegs. Once you know that's going to happen, then you're more careful, so that's not a problem. The mirrors look nice, they're small, but I can only see a quarter of the road behind me, so I would need them sticking out further and maybe a bit higher up. But then if you're shorter and narrower, that's not a problem. I say that on every video, but it's the same on every bike. So sometimes we are repetitive because we're looking at motorbikes and you've got two wheels, a tank, a seat, and an engine, and a lot of the things are going to be the same, but that is a fact, so we have to say it.
The exhaust note is really nice on the Rebel. It's got a deep tone, very grumbly, but it's not got as much character as a V-twin, like a like a Harley-Davidson. It's a more sporty, refined sound. And I do really like the sound of this. I think with an aftermarket exhaust, this could sound fantastic.
To try and summarise what this Honda Rebel is like for you, it's the sort of Rebel that wears a suit in the week and a shirt and tie and shiny shoes, but goes out at the weekend in a leather jacket and an open shirt. It's that kind of Rebel. It's very good, it's very refined, everything works well, it's extremely good, it's very fast, gear change is good. I think the manual would be better. The thing about a DCT, it does all the blipping and all that stuff for you, and it sounds good, but you're not doing it, you're just doing that. Whereas if you've got a manual bike with a clutch and a gear shifter, you're doing the blipping, the throttle, you're more involved in it. So that's something to bear in mind. So you can get the manual version of this bike. But it looks good, sounds good, and it doesn't quite have the character of the Harleys, the Indians, the BMW R18, in that it doesn't sort of shake, doesn't have that guttural roar that you get with a V-twin or the Boxer twin. The outlook in front of you on the handlebars, it's all very functional and very good, but it's not art, if you know what I mean. I'm very much interested in the visual side of things and the design of things, and I do find that an issue in my mind. It's not an issue in most people's mind, I know that. But I think I like things to be styled beautifully. If it's going to be there, it might as well be beautiful and artistic as well as functional.
Looks wise, I really like the look of this bike. It's got a nice beefiness to it. The forks look quite wide and it's got this quite chunky tyres on it, so it definitely looks a lot beefier than the 500 version. It's got some retro hints to it, like the mud guards, which are metal. Everything's good quality on a Honda. You can't really go wrong with them. And it kind of brings a modernness to the cruiser market. I suppose you could say the same about the Sportster S, but we haven't reviewed that yet. And this is a lot cheaper than the Sportster S. But yeah, looks wise, it looks great. And this tank is definitely bigger than the 500 version as well. And I like the shape of that as well, it looks really nice.
Now, the turning circle on this isn't very good, so if you're turning round, the lock to lock isn't very much, so you can just about 3-point turn it in a normal size road, but on a very narrow road it's a 4- or 5-point turn.
I am 6'1", and this is what I look like on the bike. So the riding position is really nice. Your arms are nice and stretched out, your feet are in a good position. I think the riding position is similar to the likes of the Harley-Davidson Lowrider S, maybe not as roomy as that, but you've got mid controls. The bars are quite wide, so you've got this kind of aggressive stance. So yeah, very comfortable to ride. I think if you're a bit shorter, you might find yourself leaning forwards if you've got short arms. But yeah, for me, it feels perfect, to be honest with you.
Now, of course, you can have a pillion on the back here, and you've got your pillion pegs either side. Any pillions around? Ah, here's one. So, jump on, let's see what it looks like on the back. I don't think you'd want to go very far on the back. Yeah, so it'll be all right for short journeys, but you wouldn't want to go like 100 miles on it, would you?
No, the seats rock hard as well.
Yeah, so yeah, fine for a quick ride, but not for a long one.
Now, adding on to the point about the turning circle, this is just a little thing about the tests we have to do to pass your test and ride a motorcycle. You have to do, on your Mod 1, a U-turn in a tight little space. And that space isn't changed or made wider depending on what bike you're riding. I did my test on my Harley-Davidson, which also doesn't have a very good turning circle at all and is very heavy. So when you're doing that same turn that you would do on a 650 sports bike with a really sharp turning circle that's very light and upright, it's much more difficult. So the test is much harder depending on what bike you're doing it on. So I really think they should change the rules depending on what bike you are riding. Also, adding on to that point about the riding test, they don't allow you to put your feet down at all doing that U-turn, which to me doesn't really make much sense, because if it's actually safer to put your foot down and stop the bike tipping over, especially when it's a big heavy bike. So yeah, I think the tests we do are ridiculous. One thing I've noticed is we went for a little ride through the country lanes, and when you're not really going for it all the time and getting lots of air into it, it obviously heats up. So the fans are quite loud. So when you turn the engine off, you do notice them quite a lot. They sound like a PS4 when it's been on for an hour. So if you've got a PS4, you know what I'm talking about. Or a little jet engine or something. But it only stays on for about a minute and then it goes off again. But when you show up somewhere, the fans will be making quite a lot of noise. You've got single disc brakes on the front and the rear. I found the stopping power, oh, I didn't find it. Stopping power is really, stopping power is really good on this. Yeah, I haven't ridden it, but yeah, the stopping power is fantastic. A lot better than my Harley-Davidson. I think the brakes on my Harley are absolutely rubbish. Well, they're not rubbish, but they're not great. Not confidence inspiring, but these were. So yeah, really like the brakes on these, and I'm not thinking, oh, I need double discs. These are perfectly good enough. We've been comparing this bike a lot in this video to other bikes like Harley-Davidsons, the R18s, Indians, and all of those bikes are a lot more expensive than this Honda. This Honda's only just over £9,000. Most Harley-Davidsons, you know, 15 grand or more, 20 grand for an R18. So that just shows you how good this bike really is, because it's a lot cheaper, it's a great price point, and you get a lot for your money. please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the video. Helps us out massively. Leave your comments below what you think of the Rebel 1100. We really enjoyed it, and it's definitely a big step up from the 500. So if you're thinking of upgrading, definitely go out and test ride one. They are really good.